Welcome to 8 Minutes Chinese. Today, we're unlocking the essential phrases you can use in daily life and master in your next business negotiation.
You know that moment right before a massive thunderstorm rolls in?
Oh, yeah, like when the air gets super heavy.
Exactly. The air suddenly becomes entirely, almost unnervingly still. Like the wind completely dies down, the leaves stop rustling, the birds go quiet, and everything just pauses.
Right.
But, you never mistake that stillness for peace. It's loaded. You feel that drop in barometric pressure.
Yeah, you know something big is coming.
You know this enormous release of energy is imminent. But in that exact split second, absolutely nothing is moving.
It's just total suspension.
Right. And that specific physical sensation, that loaded electric pause, is actually the core of this ancient, really high-level strategic philosophy. And it's hiding right in plain sight within these everyday Chinese idioms.
He really is.
So welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and today we're unpacking a fascinating stack of sources that decode this exact philosophy. We've got this strict pronunciation and definition guide detailing these highly nuanced concepts.
And we are pairing it with something pretty unique.
We really are. We have an audio file of a native English speaker just, honestly, kind of battling their way through the deep complexities of these phrases.
Yeah, the contrast in our source materials here gives us just a fascinating entry point because we're looking at what is essentially a masterclass in timing and strategy.
Right.
It's this whole framework for how to move through the world when the stakes are incredibly high, but we're filtering it through the real-time struggle of an English speaker trying to wrap their mouth around the phonetic translation.
It totally forces us to slow down.
Exactly. It forces us to examine the actual mechanics of action and inaction.
Well, let's just pull up that first segment of the audio file. We get to hear the speaker encountering the foundational idiom that basically anchors this entire philosophy. Let's play that tape.
Jing chuzi dong tua tu, jingru chuzi dong tua tu, still as an unmarried maiden, fast as a fleeing hare, strategic composure, followed by explosive, decisive action.
Okay, so the phonetic attempt there. Jing chuzi dong tua tu. It's a little clunky, right?
A bit, yeah.
But then it gives way to this profound, almost cinematic translation. Still as an unmarried maiden, fast as a flaying hare.
It's such a striking image.
It really is. And for our listeners, the actual opinion is Jingru chuzi, dongru 202. Now, I think we all intuitively understand the concept of going fast, the hare part.
Sure.
But that first half, it really demands a deeper look.
Mm-hmm.
Because when an English speaker hears stillness, we tend to think of just doing nothing. Does stillness in this context simply imply like a total cessation of activity? Or is there a specific mechanical purpose here?
So our source material is really clear on this. This stillness is highly active. It is not a cessation of activity at all.
Okay, wait. Active stillness. That sounds like an oxymoron.
Right. But to understand why, we have to look at the deep cultural and historical context of the language. So jing means stillness or quiet. Ru means like or s. And chuzi refers to an unmarried maiden.
Okay.
Now, in the context of ancient Chinese society, an unmarried young woman was often expected to be secluded in the inner chambers of the household, like completely out of sight.
Exactly. She was expected to be demure, unseen, and unheard in public affairs. So, to an outside observer, she appears as a total non-factor, entirely passive.
Oh, interesting.
But this idiom flips that expectation into a massive tactical advantage.
Oh, I see. So she's basically sitting there observing a room while everyone else assumes she isn't even paying attention. She becomes this invisible sponge for information.
Yes. The tactical brilliance lies entirely in the asymmetry of the situation.
Right.
Because she is perceived as completely still and unthreatening, absolutely no one raises their defenses around her.
Oh, wow. People just talk freely.
They do. She gathers intelligence without giving a single thing away. Her internal state is hypervigilant, but her external state is just an absolute void. She's completely unreadable.
And that's so counterintuitive to how we operate now, right? Modern society routinely confuses stillness with passivity. All the time.
We just assume if a person isn't moving or speaking or producing something, they're just doing nothing. But this idiom explicitly defines this state as strategic composure. Like you are deliberately withholding your energy and your intentions.
Precisely. It's a choice.
But practically speaking, and I want you to really unpack this for us, how does someone actually deploy that in a high-stakes environment.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, let's say you're at a completely hostile negotiation, or someone is actively provoking you in a boardroom meeting.
Right.
If you just sit there quietly, I mean, that could so easily be interpreted as you freezing up or being intimidated. How do you tell the difference between strategic unreadability, like the maiden, and just locking up like a deer in headlights?
That is the crucial question. And the difference entirely comes down to who's controlling the internal environment.
Okay, how so?
Think about the deer in headlights. Freezing like that is a neurological hijacking.
The fight or flight response.
Exactly. The amygdala perceives a threat, the sympathetic nervous system just dumps adrenaline into your bloodstream, and the executive function of your brain essentially shuts down.
So you're offline.
Right. The deer isn't choosing to be still. The fear has completely paralyzed it. But strategic unreadability, true Jing, is the exact opposite of that.
Because you're still in control.
Yes, your prefrontal cortex remains completely in charge. You observe the provocation, you analyze the pressure in the room, and you consciously decide to withhold a reaction.
Wow, so you aren't paralyzed at all. You're coiled, like a spring.
Coiled is the perfect word for it.
Okay, let's see how our English speaker navigates the application of this concept. Because the next part of the audio file actually breaks down the exact mechanism of maintaining that coiled state when the pressure is on. Let's play that clip.
Jing stillness, calm, quiet, the foundational state. Think active, deliberate, unreadable stillness. Not passivity, chinuki, to hold your composure, to keep your cool under pressure. The ability to stay Jing even when provoked. Chenbuki, to lose composure, to crack under pressure. Reacting too quickly before the moment is right.
Okay, so the speaker is obviously wrestling with two incredibly important opposing phrases there.
Yeah, you can hear the struggle with the tones.
For sure. Our text source clarifies them as chenzuki and chenbutsu. And the audio defines chenzuki as holding composure, the ability to stay Jing when you're being provoked. But what is the literal translation happening beneath the surface of that phrase? Because there's usually a physical metaphor there, right?
There is, and it's brilliant. The literal translation offers this very clear physical instruction for a psychological state.
Okay, break that down for us.
So chen means to sink or to be heavy. Zu means to hold firm or secure. And qi refers to breath or vital energy.
Okay.
So chenzu literally translates to sinking and holding the breath.
Sinking the breath. That's so specific.
It has these really deep roots in Taoist philosophy and traditional martial arts. Think about what happens when humans panic or feel threatened. Our energy naturally rises.
Right, your breathing gets super shallow.
Exactly. Your breath moves up into your chest, your shoulders tense up, even your voice gets higher. You become physically top-heavy and very easily unbalanced.
So sinking the breath physically counteracts that panic response.
Completely. You are consciously forcing your center of gravity back down.
You're kind of overriding your own biology.
You really are. You're engaging diaphragmatic breathing, which mechanically stimulates the vagus nerve and activates the parasympathetic nervous system.
Which calms you down.
Right. You are biologically forcing your body out of that fight or flight response. When you sink your breath, you lower your center of gravity both physically and psychologically.
You become anchored.
Exactly. That is how you maintain Jing. You become the eye of the hurricane, calm, completely observant, and impossible to knock over no matter how much chaos is spinning around you.
Which makes the opposite phrase, chenbuzuki, the failure of that anchor.
Exactly.
The audio describes it as cracking under pressure or reacting too quickly. So the phrase literally translates to being unable to sink and hold the breath.
Right. The energy rises, the panic sets in, and you just become entirely reactive.
You lose the maiden entirely.
You do. Because now you're broadcasting your internal state to everyone in the room. You're visibly flustered. You have completely given up your asymmetric advantage.
There is a massive psychological trap here that we definitely need to address.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it is deeply, deeply uncomfortable to sit in a state of unresolved tension. Like, if someone sends you a wildly passive-aggressive email at work, the immediate impulse is to fire back right then and there.
Right, just to get it out.
Yeah. We often act not because we actually have some brilliant strategic response ready, but simply to relieve that agonizing internal pressure of waiting.
That right there is the defining characteristic of chenbuzuki. You are taking action to soothe your own anxiety, rather than taking action to alter the reality of the situation.
Oh, wow. That is a gut punch. Soothing your own anxiety.
It's true, though. You send that angry email or you speak out of turn in the meeting just to discharge the nervous energy. But because that action was driven by panic rather than strategy, it is almost always sloppy.
You reveal your insecurities.
You show your entire hand, and you usually end up making the situation 10 times worse. True Chenzuki requires a really high tolerance for psychological discomfort.
Right.
You have to be willing to just sit with the tension, let the other party wonder what you're thinking until the precise moment arrives to actually release that potential energy.
And that brings us perfectly to the release of the energy, the strike. Let's play the next segment of the audio file where the speaker translates the second half of our grand strategy. Let's listen.
2. The fleeing hare symbolizes explosive speed and decisive movement, but always earned through prior stillness. Ming, or hodong, mowing hong, strategize fully, then act, a companion idiom.
Okay, I have to point this out. The phonetic spelling for the fleeing hare is 202.
Right.
But the automated transcription, or maybe just the speaker's interpretation, somehow turns 202 into the numbers 202.
I know, it's pretty funny.
It sounds like a server error code. Error 202, the fleeing hare could not be found.
Please refresh your browser to find the hare.
Exactly. But joking aside, right beneath that pronunciation struggle is this profound definition. Explosive speed and decisive movement, but always earned through prior stillness.
That concept of earned speed is the absolute linchpin of this entire philosophy.
Okay, break down earned speed for us.
Well, we've spent all this time discussing the maiden, right? But the strategy is fundamentally incomplete without the hare. Dongru 202 translates to move like an escaped hare. If you consider the actual biology and behavior of a hare, it's a prey animal. It survives by blending perfectly into the brush.
To using Jing.
Exactly. It remains absolutely motionless, utilizing Jing, until the predator steps into the exact wrong position, and then boom. The hare explodes from 0 to maximum velocity in a fraction of a second.
There's no warm-up.
None. There is no jogging. It is a pure binary transition from absolute stillness to absolute speed.
Okay, but why does the source text insist that this explosive speed must be, quote, earned through the prior stillness? Like, what happens if you try to deploy the speed without putting in the time as the maiden first?
That's where things go wrong. Action without prior stillness creates tremendous friction.
Friction, how do you mean?
Well, think about it. If you are constantly moving, constantly reacting to things, constantly talking, you are telegraphing all of your intentions to your environment.
Everyone sees you coming.
Precisely. Every move you make encounters resistance because the environment has plenty of time to adapt to you. But when you employ true explosive speed, it works perfectly because your opponent, or the market, or your audience was completely lulled into a false sense of security by your prior unreadability.
Oh, I get it. You created a vacuum.
Yes.
Yes.
You removed all the resistance. The stillness literally pays for the speed.
Yeah.
Because you gave away no information, no counter defenses were built against you.
Wow.
So when you finally move, you move through empty space. That is what earned speed is.
It makes so much sense.
Think of like a major corporate acquisition. The companies that succeed in those don't announce their intentions 6 months in advance and get into a massive public bidding war.
Right, because then the price skyrockets.
Exactly. They observe the market silently, they quietly align their capital, they sink their energy, they use Chenzuki, and then they execute the buyout over a single weekend before anyone even realizes the board was meeting.
And the outside world perceives it as this sudden overnight shock to the system. But what they didn't see were the months of Chenzuki that made that single weekend possible.
Exactly.
And that beautifully sets up the companion idiom that the audio speaker was wrestling with at the very end of that clip.
Muding or hodong.
Yeah, the speaker's attempt at Ming or Hudong, mowing home, it's rough, but it carries this absolutely vital rule for applying this to your life.
Let's unpack that one.
So, Muding or Hodong translates to strategize fully, then act. If we break down the characters, Mu means to plan or strategize. Ding means settled, fixed, or finalized.
Okay.
Or Hodi means and then or only after. And finally, Dong means to move or act.
So the absolute condition for movement is total finality in the planning phase.
Yeah.
You do not move while the strategy is still like fluid or half-baked.
Yes. The sequence is completely non-negotiable. The planning must reach a state of ding. It has to be completely settled. Only then do you transition into the explosive action of the hare.
If you move while the plan is still forming, you're just engaging in Chenbuzuki again. You are letting the pressure of the moment force you into premature, chaotic action.
That makes total sense.
This companion idiom essentially serves as the bridge between the maiden and the hare. It tells you exactly what the maiden is doing while she's sitting so perfectly still.
She isn't just daydreaming.
No, she is engaged in mooding. She is finalizing the strategy.
Hearing all this entire philosophy feels like a direct antidote to the fundamental design of the modern world.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because our entire digital infrastructure is basically built to punish the maiden and demand the hare, right?
Unearned speed.
Exactly. Algorithms prioritize immediate engagement. Corporate email culture demands replies within the hour. And the 24-hour news cycle insists that you form a public opinion on incredibly complex geopolitical events within, minutes of them happening.
The modern world aggressively incentivizes unearned speed. We are constantly being prodded to react, to emote, to just weigh in on things.
It's exhausting.
It really is. The environments we navigate daily are quite literally designed to extract our energy and force us into a perpetual state of Chen Buzu.
Wow.
Think about it. When you react instantly, you generate data, you generate conflict, you generate engagement. The system feeds on your lack of composure.
So if the system is designed to trigger your fight or flight response just so you'll hit send or post or buy, then choosing to sink your breath actually becomes an act of profound rebellion.
It really does. Reclaiming your agency starts with recognizing that an external provocation does not mandate an internal reaction.
That's a great way to put it.
When the crisis hits at work or that aggressive message arrives on your phone, the untrained instinct is to mirror the chaotic energy of the stimulus.
Right, to match their freak out.
Exactly. But the strategic response is to engage the psychological shield of Jing. You absorb the information, sure, but you absolutely refuse to let it dictate your internal equilibrium.
So let's synthesize the mechanics of this journey for the listener, pulling together everything these pinyin phrases and those audio struggles have revealed today.
Let's do it.
We have basically decoded a binary system for navigating high-pressure environments. On one side, we have action without stillness. That is unearned speed. It's flailing. It is Chen Buzu, losing your composure and letting panic dictate your movements, which creates massive friction and telegraphs all your weaknesses to the room.
Spot on. And on the other side, we have stillness without eventual action. That is simply freezing. That's the deer in the headlights, totally paralyzed by the amygdala.
Right.
True mastery is the deliberate oscillation between those two extremes. It is the ability to embody the maiden, unreadable, completely observant, and internally anchored until the strategy is fully settled.
Modingy.
Yes. And then, without any hesitation, executing with the explosive, unimpeded speed of the fleeing hare.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you, the listener, to think about the biggest challenges currently sitting on your desk or weighing on your mind.
We all have them.
Right. Maybe you are navigating a really toxic office political situation. Or maybe you're preparing for a massive career pivot, or you are locked in a super tense negotiation.
The instinct is always going to be to do something.
Exactly. To say something, just to prove you're engaged. But remember the tactical power of the void. You do not have to announce every single move you are considering.
No, you don't.
You do not have to mirror the anxiety of the people around you. You can choose to lower your center of gravity. You can choose to be the sky right before the thunderstorm, holding all the potential energy, gathering every piece of intelligence, while everyone else just wonders what you are going to do.
And having the discipline to remain completely unreadable while you finalize your strategy, that guarantees that when you finally do make your move, absolutely no one will be prepared to stop you.
Which leaves us with a final question to consider today. In a society that equates constant motion with productivity and instant reaction with authenticity, is the most disruptive, terrifying, and ultimately powerful move you can make simply choosing to be utterly unreadably still.
Hope you loved today's 8-minute upgrade. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.